Among the many types of router jigs that are out on the market is a circle cutting jig or an ellipse jig, so it cuts ovals. This is an example of a jig that cuts both circles and ovals. So with this jig you can set it for different size circles and ovals, and you attach your router to it, and then you can route whatever size you need. So the first thing we need to do is to mount the router to the jig. Most of these come pre-drilled. This one has a 3-hole pattern for mounting holes that you can put your router. That's a pretty common for a lot of 2.5 horse mid-size routers. You can also use a 3-horse router. Like some of the smaller routers, the trim routers and the compacts, might not fit this jig, but they do make jigs for that. And if your router doesn't have a hole pattern that matches this, you might have to drill your own holes to mount. So for example, this router I've had to remove the plastic sub-base from the router so that I can get that screwed right to the base. So that by doing that, I also eliminate that 1/4 inch or so of thickness, so that leaves me the best plunge depth that I can get. I've also mounted a dust collection hood on this that came with this router so that I can suck up most of that dust and not have it spewing everywhere while I'm routing. So once I get your router on the jig, what we need to do is to figure out what size we're going to do. So with this jig, you get a base that comes with it, and you get 2 sliders. And these go in there and slide. For cutting ovals, you use one in each direction. But to do a circle, what you do is first draw out the center point of your workpiece, and then center that plate on the center there. Now to do a circle, you'd put the 1 slider in, and there's 2 screw holes. Take your screws and then just screw this down to that. This will be the bottom side of your workpiece. So for example, if you're making a tabletop, you don't want to screw all the way through and have the holes come out the top surface. So you screw only to a shallow depth. And to make sure that I've got my drill set with a flag to keep my depth from going through that. So that's a real simple way to do that. So if I want to do a circle, I just screw that down. So I'm screwing the plate and the pivot point down. And then I just take this, which has a little T-bolt with a hole in it. This one's already attached, so I'll show you here. Just set that on to that little pin, drop this over it, and tighten the nut down on top of it. So if I want to route a circle, I just put that down, and then that becomes my fixed pivot point. And then I set it to whatever the diameter that I want, and then I start routing and make a perfect circle. To do the ellipses or an oval, for that we're going to start by mounting our plate. So we want to get it centered. And there's 2 screw holes here, so I want to get a screw in there. Make sure I'm still lined up. Okay. And put my second screw in. I've already preset my depth, so I'm not going through the entire workpiece. So now my plate is fixed, and it's not going anywhere. Now my workpiece I've got setting on rigid foam insulation, so that this is just basically a sacrificial surface so that I can cut into that without damaging the bit or damaging any of my workpiece or the bench. So by doing that, to keep the pieces from moving around, I've double face taped this to the insulation board. So now we're ready to get further ready here for an oval. We're going to put 1 slider in each slot. So for routing through this, one of these bits, you can use either a straight or a spiral bit. So a spiral bit cuts on all sides, got a nice shear action. This is an upcut spiral bit, so that when I'm cutting, it's actually cutting and lifting that material, and it's really doing a nice job so that my bottom, my good surface, it's going to be pulling that upward, and then not break through and shear it off. This is a straight bit, which would also work, has 2 cutters. There is one caveat with a straight bit though that I'll show you. So with a straight bit like this, because the cutters don't go all the way to the center point of the bit on the bottom, you'll end up, when you plunge, you'll end up cutting this and getting a little island there, and then eventually that'll stop. It'll hit the part of the bit and you won't be able to plunge anymore. So what you'll need to do is, when you're plunging with a straight bit, is you just go back and forth a little bit until you get to your bottom depth, that you're cutting, and then you can go from there. Before we attach the router jig to the base, we need to set our bit cutting depth. So the way to do that is with the base sitting on top of the workpiece, I want to get over to the edge and I want to lower the bit until it hits my foam board, and then just slightly a little more than that. So I know I'm cutting deeper than the thickness of my board. So then with that set, I need to use my turret stop to set my depth so that this will work out there. So I loosen the lock, drop the stop rod, tighten it up. And now I'm set up. So I've got it set for one of the lowest stops on my turret. So then when I get ready to route, I'll go back to the tallest, and then I can start from there and then work my way down each time. So now we need to set our cutting dimensions, our width and our depth this way. So with an oval, you're going to have one axis that's longer than the other. So the longer axis is called the major axis, and the other is called the minor. So we set the major first, the longest. So if in this case I've got it set up that I want to make a 3-foot oval at its longest point. So I've laid out 18 inches from the center point on each. So I've got a 36-inch wide mark there to set that up. So then I want to take my T-bolts and put them on the sliders. And then I set the jig over the T-bolts, turn them so that the head, so that the T runs this way so that it fits into the recessed channel on the bottom side of that jig. So then I want to put my washer and the little knurled nuts on top. I don't want to tighten them down yet because I've got to do that next. Just get them snug where they've still got some room to work. So now I need to set my bit to the mark that I'm doing. And now if you're cutting out something such as a tabletop, you want to be to the outside of your mark with your bit. And if you're wanting to cut out where you want the center part to be thrown away, if you were cutting out, say, a mirror frame and you wanted that oval cut out, you would cut then to the inside of your mark. So that's, in this case, I want to be now to the outside of my mark. And it's kind of hard to see with my dust collection, but I just want to get it set down there to that. Okay, so then with that set to that's set for an 18-inch cut from the center point. So then I want to lock this one down, the center slide. So now I'll slide over and set my minor axis. Now I've got room here to fluctuate. I can go as much as 4 inches. With this jig, the most you can go is 8 inches difference between the major and the minor axis. So in this case, I can go as much as I want to. So if I want it to be narrow as possible in there, I set this slider out here to the outside. Got to make sure you don't drop out of the jig. But if I want to be right there, then I set this and tighten that one up. So now I've got both sliders ready to go. So then when I start, I would take my bit and drop it down, and I'll cut, and then it just slides across like that. And that's how I make my oval. Now when we do this, we want to cut this in increments of about 1/8 inch depth. That's why my turret stop will help me out there, so that we don't stress the router motor or the bit too much, and we get a cleaner cut that way. So with this jig, this is from Rockler, they sell an optional plate that you can buy that gives you a greater difference between the major and minor axes. So if you, basically this is double the size of that plate, so that you can get as much as 14 inches between the major and the minor. So if you were wanting a much thinner, longer oval, you could buy this plate and do that, because you could set your one and then make it much thinner. And it works exactly the same, uses the same slider, same jigs, but it's an optional plate. Okay, so my first cut, I'm going to plunge down to my turret stop, and then we're going to route all the way around, and then we'll stop and evaluate and see where we're at, and then we'll just keep doing that in increments. So let's make a cut. Now, as you can see, after making one pass, the dust collection didn't get everything, but it got a lot of it. So there will be some left, but as you can see, the hose has kind of gotten a little snarled up in the cord around the jig. So you can take this hose has a swivel, so I can roll it back, and that'll take care of that part of it. The cord is okay. You can usually make a couple of passes before the cord gets too unruly. And then we just keep routing in increments until we're through. So we're almost through. One more plunge will make it through the next cut, and that'll separate the two pieces. First, before we do that though, we got to think about what's going to happen after we separate these two. You don't want this piece, if they were just sitting here loose, once this separated, then your whole piece could move around and you could get into something with the router. It could catch, you could have some kind of a potential accident or damage a workpiece. So the ideal thing here is you can get these two secured ahead of time with double-face tape, which is what I've done. So they're secured to the foam board with double-face tape, so that after I separate them, they're both still secured. Neither one's going to move around. The other thing you could do is before you get to this make this last cut, you could plunge through, take a jigsaw, lift it up off of your foam board, take a jigsaw then, and route around the perimeter to separate it, and then put your piece back down and finish routing to clean up that edge. So there's a couple of ways you can do that. The double-face tape seems to work real easy, and by routing it, you get a really clean edge. So let's make the last pass and separate these two. So now we're done. So we can take our base off, our pivot block. Let's clean up some of the dust. If I hadn't been using dust collection, this whole surface would have been covered in dust. So it does help. It's not 100%, but it gets about 80% of it. So it's really a good thing to do. So, okay, so now all we have to do then is just lift our remaining piece up from the foam. So this is our throwaway piece in this case. And now this is our keeper. It's going to be our coffee table or whatever we're going to make. So then just get under it. You might need a putty knife to kind of get it started, but get it broke away. See how that wasn't going anywhere. So now there is, we take the tape off, and now there is our good surface. No screw holes poking through. So that's our good surface for our coffee table. So we've got this all done. All we need to do now is to build a base and route the edges, and you're good to go.